bed with you, come to think of it.
But it's okay if they tuck you into bed, as long as they don't
Tuck
get
you in,
into bed
yes.
with you after that. Um, but the other thing that also struck me when I was reading about ghosts, and when you started by saying that it's a lot of the English ghosts that are hanging around in places like Shimla or wherever, is,
Kolkata too.
and Calcutta too, of course, is that and some of your stories you talk about this whole nomenclature of ghost families. I mean, we are a very family oriented society, and so we have all these. In Bengali we have petnis and brahmodoitos and shakchunnis and skondokata, which is so specialized that it's a ghost of people who committed suicide by putting their heads down on a railway track and a train went over their head. And so we have very specialized ghosts. And, so we could have a whole nomenclature. So what is it about us? I don't know if other countries have that kind of, they just have ghosts and vampires or werewolves and things. But we seem very, even Muslim ghosts,
Oh,
mamdo
yes.
boots and fishy ghosts, mechobu. I don't know whether we're in Dehradun, there are so many different types of ghosts, are there?
Um, no, no, not Dehradun. I think there's too much traffic now. The ghosts, all the cars and the vehicles and the horns have scared them all away. Um, but I was thinking of a Calcutta ghost that actually appeared in London. Um, Charles Dickens, he'd sent his one of his sons. He had over 12 sons and several daughters, and he one of them joined the East India Company's army and was sent out to India. And he wasn't a very strong boy, and he should never have been sent out. And he actually within a couple of years he died, and he was buried here in the Bhawanipur cemetery. And I went and tried to find out more about it. And then I learned that many years ago actually, the grave was transferred from Bhawanipur to the Park Street cemetery. But anyway, Dickens himself was reported to have said that his son would sometimes appear to him there in his home in London, back in the 1860s, and which is about the time he died here. So there is that ghostly connection with Calcutta.
Well, that's interesting because a Vietnamese American friend of mine in California used to say his grandfather was buried in Vietnam, and then the family fled as refugees to California. And his grandmother, especially as she grew older and was starting to get Alzheimer's, she would keep wondering whether the grandfather, she would wonder, can ghosts cross the Pacific? Would the grandfather be able to come and visit her in their home in San Jose, California? And perhaps if she, according to Dickens, maybe ghosts could. Maybe this grandfather didn't want to visit her, but so he never came. But I wanted to actually open it up to questions because for people to ask which story is true or not. But
Or tell us your own ghost
or
story.
tell us your own ghost stories. But before that, I wanted to put a question to both of you. If you had a choice, what kind of ghost would you like to be, and where would you like to haunt?
I would like again to have a chance to meet the one whose arm got longer and longer. This time I won't run away.
Oh, because you'll both be in the same situation.
Your favorite ghost.
No,
No.
I really just want to leave when it's time.
Done.
Yeah,
You-
don't want to come back.
Don't want to come back.
I think I've given people a hard enough time while I've been alive.
When I hope you'll all come back tomorrow anyway over here and not be put off by this session.
I see a question already back there.
I promise not to write any more ghost stories.
No, you must not promise things like that.
Well, with that promise from Mr. Bond, I have a question that is slightly off the record from ghost stories. In your stories, Mr. Bond, Dehradun and Himalayas, they themselves play a character. What's the best thing you like about Dehradun and the Himalayas? And I have another question to Mr. Thayil also. that knowing Mr. Thayil for 3 times in this session, in this meet, you are a very realistic kind of person from the of Nagapurnish. You prepare yourself for such a session of ghosts and all that. Thank you.
The first part was directed at me.
About the
get all of
Himalayas.
it.
What do you like best about the you write about Dehradun and the Himalayas?
Oh, I'm a nature lover really, and the living up in the mountains has helped me to actually get through life. Being close to trees, flowers, wildflowers, streams, forests, and I enjoy coming down to cities occasionally too, and it's good to have a change. So it's not particularly related to ghosts. I don't follow them around, but I must. It's very interesting. Somebody came to see me just a few months back, and he was investigating the paranormal, and he thought I would be an expert on the matter. He wanted me to take him around to haunted houses, and I had to sort of. I didn't want to disturb all these ghosts who were living around in different corners, so I told him, I'm sorry, I really don't know of any haunted houses here. And I didn't want to put off the tourists either.
Well, I think anybody who's experienced grief would know that there are some kinds of hauntings that you look forward to. So I would answer that question by saying that I prepared myself for a ghostly session by flying for 2 hours. I'm a very fearful flyer, and when I fly, all my fears come bubbling to the surface. I take a pill to fly. And it's a very good idea to not take a pill and to fly sober, because that brings you right up against all the ghosts that are clamoring to get in from the window of the plane.
Other questions? There's a question, Frank. Yeah, go ahead. I don't think your mic is on.
Hello, Mr. Bond. Basically, we know that a person died, and after death, his spirit became ghost, if it is not in an improper state, okay? Mm-hmm. But if it is possible, if a space, mm-hmm. The space itself is dead, or space itself has certain kind of consciousness, and after a certain period of time, this space itself has become the ghost. We know the infestation, which is called infestation. Mm-hmm. Space itself has become ghost. Is it possible?
Well, thank you. You've given me an idea for a story. Yeah, why shouldn't it be possible? Yes, well, interesting. Yes, a ghostly space. Certainly, we'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This is not really a question, but an experience that I would like to share with everybody out here.
Yes.
Actually, I have done my PhD on Ruskin Bond, and I had been to Mr. Bond with my husband long back in 2005 to take an interview. And I remember carrying with myself a small tape recorder, but while I was like climbing up Landor, it suddenly, I realized that it was not working anymore. So there was a shop out there which used to repair electronic goods. Mm-hmm. And I went and said that I need a tape recorder because I have to, get this interview recorded. And so there was a man who said, "Oh, aap Bond saab ke ghar pe ja rahe ho? Theek hai, ye leke jao." So it was a big, huge tape recorder he had given me. And we both had taken it, me and my husband, to Mr. Bond's house. And I said, "Okay, now I'm going to record, this conversation." And he was very glad. He said, "Okay, fine, carry on." So as the tape recorder, the tape was rolling gradually, and probably for 45 minutes when I had continuously asking him questions, and then suddenly that's one side was over. So Mr. Bond just said, "Why don't you just check out if it is, working fine?" So I just tried to check out, and you wouldn't believe there was not even a single sound recorded in it.
No, I have that
And
effect,
Mr.
yes.
Bond, with his cheeky smile, said, "There is a ghost out here, you know, who will not let my voice be
Yes,
recorded."
I have this ghost. He hates tape recorders, hates anything, all these technological things. He gets into them and it's a mischievous trait.
Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to share.
And he
Thank
also
you so
hates.
much.
Is that why you don't have a cell phone?
In spite of that, you managed to do your PhD.
Yes, I did, sir. You know that. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Bond. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the early 70s decade, when Prem Singh came to stay with you,
Yes.
you had written in one of your articles that Prem Singh's wife used to have fits at night. She used to give out shrieks as if she was possessed by a spirit. And then you would ask them to spend the rest of the night in your room until that thing passed over. What is your take on that?
Well, yes, she used to get possession and it would pass off. That happens to many people up in the hills, actually. You know, get possessed by the spirits of people who've passed on. It's not very rare. It does happen occasionally.
My second question is a little off track. In many of your articles, you've written about your extended family, Prem Singh and his children, Rakesh, Mukesh and Dolly and their children. So I would like to know who have accompanied you to Calcutta on this tour. Is it possible to introduce us to them?
Well, they're here, but they're very shy, two of them. I'm not sure that they'll want to come up on the stage. Rakesh, Beena, would you like to say hello? Well, they're probably at the back somewhere.
Yes, can you please come up on the stage?
I don't know if they want to come up. If you want to come up, of course, you're very welcome. But meanwhile, let's go take another
Carry on.
question.
In the meantime, we'll
Yeah.
take another question.
Good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, psychologically speaking, can we actually appropriate pastness and memory with ghost?
I think, Jeet, you take that one. That's a tough one.
Give me the tough ones. Did you say pastness? Is that what you said? Pastness?
Yes, I said pastness.
I like that word. I don't think it exists, but it
it's a
should.
good-
You just coined a word. Good on you. I might write that down and use it.
See, good things come out of literary festivals.
In fact, I think the title of the session could be The Pastness of Ghosts or Sleeping with Ghosts. No, one of the two. I hope that's good enough of an answer.
A very good evening. My question to you, sir, is that do you like the ghosts that we see in Harry Potter movies, like nearly Headless Nick, or do you think that they're too friendly to be ghosts?
Is there anything as a too friendly ghost?
You answer that.
Me, No, you are the
No,
you are the
I'm-
paranormal expert. People are coming to you to do.
No, but I'm not familiar with the Harry Potter films, actually.
Why are you outsourcing the difficult questions?
I like the let me paraphrase that question. Let's leave Harry Potter out of it and ask you. You said many ghosts are friendly. Is there such a thing as a too friendly ghost? I mean, is there a level?
I think we're now back to the question of sleeping with ghosts.
My question is to Mr. Jeet. Very often we confuse between spirits and ghosts. So what is actually the connection or the dissimilarities between spirits, ghosts and charsis?
Spirits usually exist in bottles, and after you use those spirits, you see the ghosts.
Good evening, sirs. The talk was supposed to be about ghosts, charsis, and black widows. So could you elaborate on the latter two,
The Black Widow.
the black
Yeah,
widows and the charsis?
My bad. I did not get to all the components of our ghostliness.
Well, do you want to...
Do you want to take the charsis and I'll take the black widow?
No, I'll take the Black Widow.
You want the black widow?
I'll take the Black Widow, which that story I wrote, Susanna's Seven Husbands, which was made into this film. I forgot.
Satkun Maaf.
Saad Khun Maaf. And she was a real person, and it's the idea for the story I got from many years back, up the Hooghly, that there were three settlements: the French at Chandanagar, the Danes at Serampore, and the Dutch at Chinsura. And along the highway from Chinsura on one side, so a little way off the road, there was, and might still be there, a very large monument which said, sacred to the memory of Susanna Anna Maria de Witt. It's a Dutch name, and there was a long epitaph in Dutch. And I spoke to some of the, and there was a ruined mansion behind, and I spoke to some of the people who lived around there in the village, and they all said that this lady had a reputation. She'd been through several husbands, and whenever she discovered that one of them was a fortune hunter or after her money, she'd get rid of him in some ingenious way, like putting a cobra into his bed or giving him poisoned mushrooms for breakfast, or locking him up in a room and then going off on a holiday, and coming back and finding his skeleton there. So I'd worked all this into this story, which later became the film.
What did you think of the film?
Now,
What did you think of the film?
it had some, Priyanka Chopra made a great, she carried the role off beautifully, on her own shoulders. Perhaps, she was the best thing there. I'm sorry.
Jeet, we are running out of time, so you get the last word.